God, that got a little tight towards the end, didn't it? It got a little too close, got a little too hairy, got a little too...
wild.
Yeah, too scary for us. A little close for comfort, honestly. After we were up 23-7, and unfortunately, due to some stupid penalties and to the league being soft, they wanted to give the Raiders some extra points to make this game closer than it should have been. And the Steelers almost gave us another heart attack and almost blew another second-half lead. Almost going deja vu. Almost going same old Steelers we've seen in previous years. But thankfully, the Steelers were able to close this out and win the game 23-18 in Vegas in our first road game of the season. Our second straight victory and the first time we've beaten the Raiders in their territory since 1995.
So that streak has ended. And in the end, the Steelers pulled through in what was a pretty chaotic game towards the end.
And up until the end, it was going smooth.
It was going more so in the Steelers' favor.
It was going very well, and it was going, dare I say, swimmingly for our Pittsburgh Steelers. Everything was going pretty much right for the most part, up until, of course, the end of the game where, like we said, it got too close for comfort. And, yes, blame the refs all you want for the Raiders' final 11 points, and I do blame them in some part because the penalties are so ridiculous. This league is too damn soft. Minka had that sack, but due to some unnecessary roughness or roughing the passer, whatever it was, what's the difference at this point? Their helmets barely clinged, and it was a roughing the passer or whatever it was. Unnecessary roughness.
Roughing the passer.
Roughing the passer. Ridiculous. Gave them a first down where they scored. And then the 2-point conversion where it was uncastable from Myers. They called it pass interference.
Yep.
Gave them the 2-point conversion. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Can't forget the Marvin Leal's penalty, too, on the long field goal attempt by Daniel Carlson.
Yeah.
But they call it a personal foul because I guess the rule is for a teammate or opponent, you can't really put your hands on your teammate or your opponent to help assist to block a field goal.
And, yes, the players got to understand those rules, and they got to do better themselves. But, again, I think it's just the league being softened year after year. It's ruining this game. And it's coming up with stupid penalties. Really stupid stuff that honestly shouldn't have made this game as close as it should have. But, thankfully, the Steelers, after a while, after a little bit of a scare, they closed it out, thankfully, man.
Yep.
The offense stepped up when they needed to in a lot of departments, in a lot of areas tonight, man. Easily the offense's best game all year. Easily Matt Canada's best play calling all year. It doesn't save him. It doesn't change anything that we thought of prior to this. It doesn't change all the 3 years of garbage he's been giving us. He did not cook tonight. If anything, he microwaved. But he did have a very decently called game. Some areas were still very predictable, very questionable. I don't know why is it every time we're 2nd and 10, we want to run up the middle with Najee. I don't know why every time Najee Harris is on the field, it's always him getting the football on the ground, and the defense knows this. They're stacking the box, and he gets a minimal gain. Like, why don't you use him a similar way Warren is being used and exercise his versatility? It'll make us a little less predictable on the offense.
Yeah, it really would.
But other than that, it was a very creative game from Canada. He spread the ball around. The offense was actually consistent in some areas. They were getting first downs. They were getting down the field. They were in the red zone. They were getting points on the board, drive after drive. After Patrick Peterson's interception, one of our 3 turnovers tonight, they responded with their best drive all season, which was first downs, chunk plays, and a touchdown after the turnover. How rare can we say that? How often can we say
nowadays
that?
For the Steelers, not very often, but I'm glad they did it after what happened in weeks 1 and 2 between the Niners and Browns. Despite it being the Raiders, and we all know how the Raiders team is and how their coaching is and everything like that.
Correct.
The Steelers needed a big bounce-back performance and a big bounce-back game. Kenny needed it just as most.
And Kenny had his first career 2 passing touchdown games since being drafted.
Yeah.
First time in his career.
Just as much. He needed a bounce-back game, and Kenny looked real solid. He almost threw a pick six. It was dropped by Marcus Peters, but he didn't.
Thank God.
Other than that, he didn't really force any too many passes. You know, when it came to the pressure, you know, he kind of panicked a little bit here and there. And
he missed a lot of throws. He missed some targets. And the O-line is still terrible. They're not giving him a lot of time in the pocket. But in translation, I want to see Pickett step up and still remain composed in that area.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, he was using his legs. He was getting his first downs. Pickett easily had his best game of the season, as did this entire offense, bar none.
Yeah.
And everyone said, or a lot of people said that, well, we faced the 49ers, a top 5 defense. We faced the Browns, a very good defense in themselves. So let's see what we can do against the Raiders. But at the same time, what we did against the Raiders, it was against the Raiders. It was against a bad team, just as bad as us. But I will say, man, all we wanted to see tonight, even though it was the Raiders, it was against a bad defense. I will say, coming to this game, a lot of us, all we wanted to see was improvement, and that's what we got. So I can kind of settle down some of the good we saw from the Steelers offense by saying, well, it was against the Raiders. It was a bad team that we faced. But
yeah,
all I wanted was improvement. So I can't be negative about that.
And we saw improvement from Kenny Pickett. Like I said, he wasn't as forceful with the ball. He didn't make any mistakes. 2 touchdowns, over 230 passing yards. We saw some improvement in the rushing attack. We gave Najee the ball more, 19 carries for 65 yards. Not too bad for Najee. He got some lanes. He got some positive yardage in there. Jaylen Warren got mixed in there as well. You know, they're trying to get that duo going week by week. Even the receiving ability was pretty solid. George Pickens had himself another solid game. 4 receptions, 75 yards. Calvin Austin III had a deep pass towards him for a 72-yard touchdown.
That was in the first quarter, which gave us our first quarter points of the season.
And by God,
touchdown of the season.
And by God, man, the missing man himself, Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah, where's he been? He had three catches, 41 yards, and a touchdown.
He was utilized a little bit today, and I'm glad to see that.
Yeah. So we actually got to spread the ball around. Some guys got to be used. We even saw some receptions from Allen Robinson. The offense was actually balanced tonight. It was very balanced. They did very well in just lengthening their drives and getting first. A couple chunk plays. I would like to see them finish drives a little more. I felt like we still left some points off the board.
And even some aggressiveness wasn't there on point.
Yeah. It wasn't all consistent, but it was definitely easily the best we've seen all offseason or all season.
Yeah.
So in that factor, I can't complain. But in some areas, which we saw last year, I want to see some continued improvement.
Yeah, from all parties.
Yes, but we did see improvement from this offense, despite it was the Raiders. It was a bad defense. It was a team that was just as bad as us. But all we wanted was improvement, and we saw improvement not just from this offense, not just from Canada, but also from Kenny. And that's what we wanted to see tonight, right? Especially after the report this morning that Canada's getting a more prominent role in the offense, unfortunately. But I guess the Fire Canada chants from SteelTwins Nation last week lit a fire under something, somewhere.
If that's what it takes for them to be progressive, to give us something fresh on offense, some production,
yeah,
I guess I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's better than dog shit.
Oh, it's better than what we saw the first 2 weeks. So there are still areas we need to grow on the offense. There are.
But we'll see if they can take this into next week against Houston.
Yes, because this is one game. This is our best game of the season thus far through 3 weeks. But we need to see some consistency heading back against the Texans next week.
Yeah, and as for the defense, man, the pass rush came to eat again. They were able to get 4 sacks, 2 of them from T.J. Watt himself.
Yeah. 1
from Marcus Golden and 1 from the rookie Keanu Benton. Pass rush came to eat. Pass rush got to Jimmy Garoppolo, which caused him to throw 3 interceptions. You mentioned 1 to Patrick Peterson and 2 to Levi Wallace. One of them was the game sealer.
Yeah, 2 of our worst corners easily this season.
In coverage,
easily, ironically, got the picks tonight. So
yeah.
Shout out to them for stepping up when they needed to. It still doesn't change the fact that they got burnt by what's his name, Devontae Adams all game.
Yeah, he had 13 catches, 172 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, that was expected.
I mean, Devontae Adams is Devontae Adams at the end of the day, but nonetheless.
But Jacoby Myers also had 85 yards. So.
Yeah, the Raiders almost had 2 100-yard receivers in this game.
And yes, that was because Jimmy G threw it over 40 times. They were down 23-7, so they had to throw it more. But it's also this team still not able to close it out and bringing the team back when they shouldn't. It's a little frustrating. And yes, some part is in favor absolutely to the zebra fucktards that just continue to control the game. But thankfully, when it mattered the most, they did not blow this game. They did not choke. They gave us absolutely a heart attack as always, but they closed it out, and they came out somehow, some way out of Vegas with a dub. 2 straight. They're now 2-1, and they sit atop of the AFC North through the first 3 weeks.
Which is pretty crazy to think about.
Very crazy to think about.
We are number 1 at the moment.
Yeah.
How long that remains, we'll have to see as the NFL season goes along.
Absolutely. So, yes, it was the Raiders. It was a team just as bad as us, but we wanted to see improvement, especially from the offense. And in many areas, we got that. It was balanced. No turnovers tonight from the offense. None.
Which is very key.
Kenny got lucky with that one that Peters dropped that obviously was intended for Connor Hayward in that play. It was only intended for Connor Hayward, and it was miscommunication.
Yeah.
But very lucky that he dropped that. Otherwise, that would have changed the entire trajectory of this game.
Yeah, see, going into this game for both teams, it was really going to come down to who's going to give up the ball more.
Yes. And thankfully, man, the Steelers were smart, right? They limited Jacobs, only 62 on the ground, right? They didn't let Jacobs get going anywhere. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God they were able to stop the run and force the game into Jimmy G's hands, not just by dominant defense, but increasing the lead, especially off turnovers. They forced the game into Jimmy G's hands, and of course, Jimmy G is not a guy that can bring the team back. He almost did, but the Steelers, at the end of the day, closed it out. Their first road game, their first road win, and their first win against the Raiders in the Raiders territory since 1995. Man, they beat history tonight. So, good win for the Steelers. You know what? I'm feeling actually pretty decent about this win.
Let's just see if they take this win and this momentum and this progression on both sides of the ball to the Houston Texans next week.
Yes, dude. The main thing we need to worry about now is consistency. Can we see not only something similar, but obviously some improvement next week versus the Texans? Texans are going to be a tough team. Texans are not a team to sleep on. They are not a team to underestimate.
And that's a second straight road matchup, too.
Yeah, we got to travel all the way to Houston.
Yeah.
So it's a long distance with these road games to start off the season, but this team is still going to have to come up.
We'll have to go all the way back home to Pitt, flight from Vegas, practice there, and then we have to go all the way down to Houston, Texas.
Yeah, so it's a long distance for these away games, but, you know, at least hopefully this Steelers can continue to show up and continue to improve. That's all we want, right? Yes, it was against a bad team, but as long as they keep improving, I suppose we'll take it. I hate that it's against poor teams, but again, improvement is what we all want, right? We don't want to repeat from the last 2 weeks, and tonight we did not get that. So Steelers win 23-18. Shout out to Steelers for showing up in many areas. Still a lot of stuff to grow on, but we'll see if we can remain consistent for week 4. But
and that's the thing. Consistency is key.
Absolutely. So other than that, man, solid game from Kenny. Good game from the ground game. Pickens, Austin stepped up. Defense stepped up. So a lot of good stuff tonight. But again, consistency is key, and we got to see that next week in Houston. So at the end of the day, here we go, Steelers. We got the dub. We're 2-1, 2 straight. Feeling pretty decent, man. But let's remain consistent. Let's go back home. Let's continue to work on some things. And hey, maybe we can get 3 straight. Potentially, maybe. Let's hope so. But let us know your guys' thoughts about this game in the comments down below. How you guys feeling, man? Wild game, almost a heart attack, almost blew it, but the Steelers closed it out, so we'll take it. Otherwise, let us know you guys' thoughts. Here we go, Steelers. See you in the next one.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Peace!
That's the take, guys.